Gentlemen, let's get real for a moment. Masturbation is something almost every man does. It's natural, it's normal. But here's the kicker. It can also quietly sabotage your sexual health if you're doing it wrong. That's right. Even something as private and harmless as masturbation can lead to ED, and most men don't even realize the mistakes they're making. Today, I want to pull back the curtain and show you the 5 worst habits that could be destroying your sexual performance without you even knowing. Mistake number 1, overstimulation. You might think pounding it out for hours is harmless, but your brain doesn't differentiate between fantasy and reality. When you constantly chase the extremes, death grips, unrealistic porn scenarios, your nerves get desensitized. This is why some men struggle to perform with a real partner. It's like rewiring your pleasure circuits to only respond to the artificial. Mistake number 2, ignoring technique. A lot of men just go through the motions, not thinking about what they're doing with their hands. The wrong technique over time can create tension, nerve damage, and make it harder to maintain an erection. It's simple physics. Stress the wrong tissue repeatedly, and eventually it rebels. Mistake number 3, frequency overload. You're probably thinking, the more I do it, the better, right? Wrong. Too much stimulation can lower testosterone temporarily, create fatigue, and yes, contribute to ED. Your body needs recovery. Masturbation isn't a sport, it's a delicate balance. Mistake number 4, relying on porn. It's everywhere, it's addictive, and it's reshaping your expectations. Watching high-speed, unrealistic content makes real intimacy feel dull. When your brain is wired to expect extremes, the real experience can feel underwhelming, leading to performance anxiety and yes, ED. Mistake number 5, guilt and shame. Many men think masturbation is bad, and this internalized stress actually works against you. Anxiety, guilt, and shame release cortisol, a hormone that's the nemesis of erections. The psychological weight of, I shouldn't be doing this, can literally prevent you from performing. And here's the reality, they are all preventable. By being mindful, understanding your body, and adjusting your habits, you can enjoy sexual health without sabotaging yourself. Stop being careless and start being intentional. Your erections and your confidence will thank you. Overstimulation is one of the most common mistakes men make, and yet it's something that flies under the radar because it doesn't show immediate consequences. You might think that pushing yourself harder, faster, or more intensely will lead to better results, but the truth is far from that. The issue begins in your brain. Your nervous system is highly sensitive to the type of stimulation you give it. When you repeatedly use extreme techniques like the so-called death grip or aggressive hand movements, your body and your brain begin to adapt. They start expecting that level of intensity every single time. Over time, this rewires your pleasure circuits so that anything less, like the natural stimulation from a real partner, suddenly feels dull or unsatisfying. Suddenly, ordinary intimacy doesn't trigger the same responses. And this is how overstimulation quietly contributes to erectile dysfunction. It's not just a psychological issue either. Physically, the repeated use of excessive force can damage nerve endings and create a tolerance that's difficult to overcome. Your penis, like any part of your body, responds to repeated stress, and if that stress is extreme, it can result in reduced sensitivity. Some men notice that they need longer sessions, more force, or more extreme fantasies to achieve the same level of pleasure. It becomes a vicious cycle. The more you push, the more desensitized you get, and the harder it becomes to respond naturally. The problem intensifies when you combine overstimulation with pornography. The high-speed, highly edited, visually extreme content that many men consume pushes their brains even further away from natural response. The combination of aggressive physical stimulation and unrealistic visual input trains your nervous system to require an unnatural amount of both just to feel pleasure. This is why so many men report struggling with erections or losing interest during real sexual encounters. The body knows the extremes, and anything less simply doesn't trigger it in the same way. The danger of overstimulation is that it's gradual. You don't wake up one day and suddenly have erectile dysfunction. It's a slow rewiring process, almost invisible, that takes months or even years to fully manifest. By the time you realize there's an issue, your brain and body have developed habits that are hard to reverse. And what makes it worse is that most men don't even know it's happening. They blame age, stress, or their partner when in reality, the culprit has been their own hands all along. The solution is surprisingly simple but requires self-awareness and discipline. Learning to moderate your intensity, being mindful of how your body reacts, and training yourself to respond to natural sensations can restore your sensitivity. You don't need extreme techniques to enjoy sexual pleasure. In fact, less is often more. Overstimulation may feel satisfying in the short term, but it comes with a hidden cost to body and brain less capable of experiencing natural intimacy. Recognizing this early, adjusting your habits, and treating your nervous system with care is the first step toward protecting your sexual health and ensuring that erections remain strong and reliable. Poor technique is a mistake that many men don't even realize they're making, and yet it can have serious long-term consequences for sexual health. Most guys assume that as long as they're masturbating, they're doing it right, but the truth is that the way you use your hands, the pressure you apply, and even the angle at which you stimulate your penis can make all the difference. Over time, repeated use of improper technique can create tension, nerve damage, and even structural problems that interfere with your ability to maintain an erection. Think about it this way. Your penis is a highly sensitive organ made up of delicate tissues and nerve endings. When you consistently grip too tightly, move too aggressively, or use unnatural motions, you're essentially training your body to respond only to that specific form of stimulation. Your nervous system begins to expect unnatural pressure and motion, which can make real intimacy feel underwhelming or insufficient. This is why some men report difficulty performing with a partner after years of masturbation that relied on extreme hand techniques. Your body becomes desensitized to anything less than what it has learned to expect. It's not just about desensitization either. Poor technique can lead to physical strain. Using excessive force repeatedly can irritate nerve endings, inflame tissues, and create micro injuries that take time to heal. This damage isn't always immediately noticeable. In fact, most men ignore the discomfort or assume it's normal, but over weeks, months, or years, these small injuries accumulate, affecting sensitivity and potentially contributing to erectile dysfunction. Even slight nerve damage can disrupt the signals between your brain and your penis, making it harder to achieve or maintain a natural erection. Another overlooked aspect of poor technique is rhythm and pacing. Many men rush the process, focusing entirely on reaching orgasm as quickly as possible, without paying attention to sensation or flow. This habit teaches your body to respond only to speed and pressure rather than to subtle touch or emotional connection. As a result, when real intimacy requires gentler, more natural responses, your body struggles to adapt. This mismatch between what your body is trained to respond to and what real life intimacy demands is a major contributor to sexual performance problems. The good news is that poor technique is entirely correctable once you understand it. Start by slowing down, paying attention to the sensations your body naturally responds to, and avoiding excessive force. Be mindful of the pressure, angle, and motion you use. Train your body to respond to gentle, natural stimulation rather than extremes. Over time, this retraining restores sensitivity, improves control, and prevents unnecessary physical strain. Ultimately, masturbation is meant to be pleasurable, but it should also be safe and sustainable. Poor technique is not just a temporary mistake, it's a habit that, if left unchecked, can quietly sabotage your sexual health. By becoming aware of how you use your body and making simple adjustments, you protect yourself from long-term problems, preserve natural sensitivity, and maintain the ability to perform confidently with a partner. It's not about avoiding pleasure, it's about practicing it wisely and intentionally. Frequency overload is a mistake that many men completely underestimate. There's this misconception that the more you masturbate, the better, the healthier, or the more in control you are of your sexual energy. But in reality, excessive frequency can have serious consequences for your sexual health and even contribute to erectile dysfunction over time. Your body is not designed to be constantly stimulated, and the cumulative effects of repeated intense sessions can leave both your mind and your body fatigued, underperforming, and less responsive to natural arousal. Think about your body like a machine. Every time you ejaculate, your nervous system and hormones are temporarily affected. Testosterone levels fluctuate, dopamine spikes, and your body needs time to recover to maintain optimal function. When you overdo it multiple times a day or several days in a row without breaks, your system doesn't have adequate time to rebalance. The result: fatigue sets in, sensitivity decreases, and your ability to achieve a strong erection naturally begins to decline. This is a slow, almost invisible process. You might not notice it at first, but over months or years, the effects accumulate, leaving you frustrated and confused as to why your sexual performance is declining. Another factor is mental exhaustion. Excessive frequency often leads to compulsive habits where masturbation becomes more about routine than pleasure. Your mind starts to crave stimulation constantly, and ordinary sexual encounters or emotional intimacy may no longer feel exciting or satisfying. This is especially true if excessive masturbation is paired with pornography, which further trains your brain to expect a constant flow of novelty. The combination of physical overuse and mental conditioning can be a silent contributor to erectile issues, performance anxiety, and even reduced libido over time. Frequency overload doesn't just affect erections, it affects confidence. When you're constantly fatigued, mentally drained, or less sensitive, your body may struggle to perform during real intimacy. This can create a vicious cycle. The more you feel frustrated or inadequate, the more you might resort to masturbation to relieve stress, which only compounds the problem. Without intervention, it becomes a self-perpetuating loop that's difficult to break. The solution is surprisingly simple, but requires discipline. You need to listen to your body, pay attention to how often you're stimulating yourself, and recognize the signs of overuse. Allow recovery days, vary the intensity, and focus on quality over quantity. Remember that less frequent intentional sessions are far more beneficial than repeated compulsive activity. Your nervous system and hormones will thank you. Your sensitivity will return, and most importantly, your ability to perform naturally and confidently with a partner will be restored. Ultimately, moderation is the key. Masturbation is not inherently harmful. It's a natural part of sexual health, but overdoing it can quietly sabotage everything you're trying to achieve in your intimate life. Understanding your limits, pacing yourself, and respecting your body's need for recovery is how you prevent frequency overload from turning into a long-term sexual problem. Controlled, mindful practice ensures that masturbation remains a tool for pleasure and health rather than a hidden cause of ED. Reliance on porn is one of the silent killers of sexual performance, and most men don't even realize the effect it's having on them. It starts innocently enough, maybe a quick video here and there just for fun. But over time, the brain adapts to the constant visual stimulation and high-speed novelty that pornography provides. Your nervous system begins to expect extreme, unrealistic scenarios in order to feel aroused. What this means in real life is that ordinary intimacy with a real partner suddenly feels underwhelming, slow, or even boring. This disconnect is a major contributor to erectile dysfunction and performance anxiety, yet it goes largely unnoticed because men don't link it to their porn habits. Porn isn't just a visual problem, it's a mental rewiring. Your brain becomes conditioned to respond to specific, exaggerated stimuli. Fast cuts, high intensity, multiple partners, fantasy scenarios, and the real world can't compete. When you try to have sex with a real person, your body and brain may not respond the way they used to because they've been trained to expect an artificial level of stimulation. This creates a frustrating cycle. The more you rely on porn, the less you can perform naturally, which increases stress and anxiety, and the cycle continues. Many men start blaming themselves, thinking there's something wrong with their body, when the real culprit is the rewired response caused by habitual porn use. There's also the issue of dopamine overload. Porn floods your brain with dopamine, the pleasure hormone, in an unnatural way. Your brain starts to crave bigger and more extreme doses just to feel the same level of excitement. This can create compulsive behavior, where masturbation becomes about chasing the next thrill rather than experiencing genuine pleasure. The more you chase these extreme visuals, the less sensitive you become to normal sexual stimuli, making it increasingly difficult to achieve erections in real-life sexual encounters. The psychological impact is just as important. Men who rely heavily on porn often develop unrealistic expectations of sex and partners. They may subconsciously compare real intimacy to what they see on screen, leading to dissatisfaction, performance pressure, and anxiety. These mental pressures compound the physical effects, making erectile dysfunction not just a physical problem, but a psychological one as well. Your mind becomes the biggest obstacle to your natural performance, and it all starts with the habit of relying on porn for arousal. The solution isn't about completely shaming yourself or avoiding pleasure. It's about mindfulness and moderation. Reducing reliance on porn, allowing your brain to recalibrate, and focusing on natural sensations can restore sensitivity and improve sexual performance. Engaging in real intimacy, building emotional connection, and training your mind to respond to real stimuli are key steps to reversing the damage. Ultimately, the problem with porn is that it rewires your sexual response without you realizing it. The high-speed, exaggerated stimulation might feel harmless in the moment, but over time it changes how your brain and body respond to natural arousal. Being aware of this, cutting down, and retraining your mind to enjoy real-life intimacy is essential to protecting your sexual health and preventing ED before it starts. Guilt and shame are invisible killers when it comes to sexual performance, and yet most men don't even realize how deeply they affect erections. Many men grow up internalizing messages that masturbation is wrong, dirty, or something to be hidden. This mental baggage doesn't just stay in your mind, it manifests physically in your body. The stress and anxiety associated with guilt trigger the release of cortisol, the body stress hormone, which is a direct enemy of healthy sexual function. When cortisol is elevated, your blood flow decreases, your nervous system goes on high alert, and your ability to achieve and maintain an erection is compromised. In other words, the very act that is supposed to bring pleasure can turn into a source of physiological sabotage when guilt and shame are involved. This is particularly dangerous because the effects are subtle and cumulative. You might not notice immediate erectile issues, but over time, repeated cycles of guilt after masturbation train your body to associate sexual activity with stress rather than pleasure. The brain starts to create a connection between intimacy and anxiety, which can carry over into sexual encounters with a partner. Performance anxiety, low libido, and difficulty sustaining erections often have roots in this combination of mental pressure and biological response. What starts as a simple feeling of shame quietly undermines your sexual health. The psychological aspect is just as important. Men who feel guilt often develop negative thought patterns. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm weak. Or I'm not normal. These thoughts create self-judgment that amplifies stress and lowers confidence. Confidence is a critical factor in sexual performance. Without it, even the healthiest body can struggle to perform. The irony is that masturbation itself is natural and normal, but the added layer of guilt transforms a natural act into a source of dysfunction. Another subtle effect is that guilt can disrupt the mind-body connection that is essential for sexual pleasure. The brain and body are tightly linked in arousal. If your mind is preoccupied with shame, it's much harder for your body to respond naturally. Men often report that they can't get in the mood or lose interest halfway through sexual activity, and in many cases, guilt is the hidden culprit. It's not a physical weakness, it's a psychological block that manifests as erectile dysfunction. The solution is about mindset and self-awareness. Understanding that masturbation is a normal, healthy part of sexual expression removes the emotional burden that leads to cortisol spikes and performance issues. Shifting your focus from shame to acceptance allows your body to relax, your nervous system to function optimally, and your sexual response to remain strong. Mindfulness, self-compassion, and reframing sexual activity as natural rather than sinful are powerful tools to reverse the damage. Ultimately, guilt and shame are silent saboteurs of sexual health. They don't leave physical scars, but they rewire your brain and body in a way that impairs performance, confidence, and pleasure. Recognizing these emotions, addressing them honestly, and replacing them with self-acceptance ensures that masturbation remains a healthy practice rather than a hidden cause of ED. When the mind is free from guilt, the body can perform as it was naturally designed to do. Mindful, intentional masturbation is the solution that ties all the previous mistakes together. It's the difference between sexual activity that quietly undermines your performance and sexual activity that enhances it. Most men approach masturbation casually, mindlessly, or compulsively. They don't consider how their habits shape their sensitivity, their nervous system, or their ability to respond naturally with a partner. Intentional masturbation is about bringing awareness, control, and respect to the act, understanding that your sexual health is in your hands, literally and figuratively. When you practice mindfulness during masturbation, you pay attention to your body, your sensations, and your arousal. You notice what feels good without overdoing it, and you avoid extreme techniques, excessive pressure, or unnatural speed. Mindfulness is about listening to your body rather than forcing it into overdrive. It's about recognizing the fine line between pleasure and overstimulation. By being present in the moment, you ensure that your nervous system stays responsive to natural arousal, preventing desensitization and the slow erosion of sexual performance that comes from extreme habits. Intentional masturbation also means regulating frequency. This isn't about shame or restriction, it's about balance. Your body needs time to recover between sessions, both physically and hormonally. When you space your sessions intentionally, you allow your testosterone levels to stabilize, your nervous system to reset, and your sensitivity to return. Over time, this controlled approach strengthens your sexual response, boosts confidence, and helps maintain the natural excitement and pleasure of intimacy with a partner. Porn and fantasy come into play here as well. Mindful masturbation involves being selective about the type of stimulation you use. Reducing reliance on extreme or artificial visual content allows your brain to recalibrate, making real-life intimacy more satisfying. It's about teaching your body and mind to respond to natural sensations, emotional connection, and real-world touch. The goal is to cultivate sexual sensitivity, not to chase unrealistic highs that ultimately backfire. Equally important is the mental and emotional aspect. Mindful masturbation encourages you to release guilt, shame, and anxiety, transforming the act into a positive, empowering experience. When you approach masturbation without self-judgment, your body can relax, cortisol levels drop, and arousal flows naturally. The psychological freedom created by acceptance and intention directly supports your ability to perform confidently and passionately with a partner. Ultimately, mindful, intentional masturbation is a form of sexual fitness. It protects against overstimulation, poor technique, frequency overload, porn reliance, and guilt, every single mistake that can lead to erectile dysfunction. By practicing awareness, control, and moderation, you create a system where pleasure and performance coexist naturally. Your body responds as it should, your mind stays sharp, and your sexual health remains strong. Masturbation, when done consciously, isn't a problem. It's a tool, a practice, and a form of self-care that can enhance your confidence, stamina, and connection with yourself and your partner. In short, the power to protect your sexual health is in your hands, literally. Use it wisely, use it intentionally, and the results will speak for themselves. So now you see the truth that most men overlook. Masturbation isn't just a private act. It's a skill, a practice, and a responsibility. Every grip, every session, every choice you make shapes your sexual health. Overstimulation, poor technique, excessive frequency, reliance on porn, guilt and shame, these are not just mistakes, they are traps. And the frightening part, most men fall into them without even realizing it, only to wake up one day frustrated, anxious, or struggling with erections that once came naturally. But here's the good news, it's all preventable. By bringing mindfulness, awareness, and intention to your sexual habits, you reclaim control, you retrain your body, rewire your nervous system, and protect the very thing that defines your confidence and intimacy. Masturbation doesn't have to be the enemy. It can be a tool, a source of pleasure, and a practice that enhances your sexual performance if done consciously. Remember, your sexual health is not something that happens by chance. It's shaped by every choice you make, every habit you form, and every moment you spend with your body. Be intentional. Respect your limits. Train your sensitivity. Release guilt and shame. Reduce reliance on extremes. And above all, practice moderation and mindfulness. Do this, and you'll not only prevent erectile dysfunction, but you'll also unlock a deeper connection with yourself and your partner. Your confidence will rise, your performance will improve, and your pleasure will be stronger and more fulfilling than ever before. Sexual health isn't a mystery, it's a practice. And now, armed with knowledge and awareness, the power to protect it, enhance it, and enjoy it fully is entirely in your hands. So go ahead, take control, and make your pleasure and performance work for you, not against you.